started the second installment of watching Emma Stone's filmography. Is Crazy Stupid Love, a movie that I like less than I watched it the first time. It just has a lot of things that are very bad. And I think last time I huffed some copium and thought that Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling's little thing was better, and it is far and away the best part of the movie, but it cannot save the rest of this movie. That is just like a video game with dialogue choices where you just pick the worst option possible every single time. And I just simply do not enjoy any of it, bar like two scenes. Because really, it's just not, it's just uncomfortable. And I guess it's kind of like the love does crazy things, makes you do stupid things. But there's like a line, and the line is just thoroughly crossed a lot, which is really just Robbie, who has entered a tier of character that I don't really have that often, which is visceral hatred, because he is just the worst, and I hate him with every fiber of my being, because he just simply does not stop when he knows he is being bad, and just simply is like, I'm just gonna keep doing it because she's my soulmate. But we'll get to that soulmate in a bit, because that is also a weird thing this movie is obsessed with. But man, Robbie, where do we start? First, his like first introduction is just bad, where it's like Jessica, I think his name, like walks in on him, and he's just like getting off, having a good time, which is fine. Like that is a thing that happens in movies, but he kind of just makes it so much worse than it needs to be, because he doubles down and is like, "Oh, I was getting off to you," and it's like, why? Why did you think that was an okay thing to say? Why would you ever say that to someone? Just in general, it's just uncomfortable and just weird, and you could just simply not. Like, I get you're a middle schooler, but I don't think you need an IQ of a middle schooler to go, oh yeah, I was masturbating to you, is not something you say to a person, because that is just immensely uncomfortable. But that's kind of Robbie's whole character, is that he just makes Jessica uncomfortable because he just simply refuses to move on and just accept that she does not like him or have any romantic feelings for him. But instead he's like, well, I know I'm making her uncomfortable, but I'm going to keep doing it anyways because she's my soulmate, which is not a justification. That's not okay. You simply cannot do that. You just don't. Just stop. Just simply stop. It's not that hard. You have crossed like 8 lines, and you really just need to not. You are an 8th grader. You are a middle schooler. Move on with your life. She is not your soulmate. That's not a real thing. Just simply stop. I just hate him so much. Because it's really just like that he's aware he's doing it. That's like the line that crossed it for me, which I think I just missed that line last time, where he's literally like, I know I'm just going to keep sending these uncomfortable texts to Jessica, but she's my soulmate, so it's fine. And I just simply, like, don't understand why you would think that's okay. And the movie seems to think it is, that it, to some degree, because it never really punishes him for it. Like, Jessica's uncomfortable, but then by the end of the movie, she kind of just validates it and is like, keep going with that. You're having a good time. And it's just like, why did you do that? Why would you do that? You didn't have to. But it's just, I just don't. I just hate it. He just has no boundaries. He just simply refuses to move on with his life. And it's just like, what are you doing? Even like his dad is like on it. He's like, yeah, it's your soulmate. You fight for him. And it's like, you don't get to decide who your soulmate is. Like, you're just projecting that she's your soulmate. Like, she has had no part in this conversation. You were literally just like, she's my soulmate and I refuse to move on this point. And it's like, that's simply just not how it works. That's not how a relationship works. That's just you projecting. You have never once asked her if you were like soulmates or if she even likes you, because you know she doesn't. We all know she doesn't. The whole point of the movie is that she doesn't. But then by the end, she's like, oh yeah, these unsolicited news I was about to send to an adult, which would be illegal, you can have them now. And it's like, why? Why did you do that? Like, why would you do that? Why are you validating him? Why are you making it seem like this is okay? It's not. It's not okay. You simply cannot do that. And it just puts a visceral like hatred in me that is just so immensely frustrated that like this is allowed to just continue for the entire movie, and then is like basically rewarded. Because you can use the justification of, oh, he's just an idiot middle schooler, he's just dumb and doesn't know what he's doing. But there is still a line that you cannot cross, and he crosses it like multiple times. Because even as a middle schooler, you need to learn boundaries. You know that like what you're doing is not okay, and you need to stop. Like you cannot double down on being just a weirdo who simply refuses to just accept that you are not going to be with this woman. You are a middle schooler. Your life will go on. And it simply just makes me so incredibly uncomfortable and so incredibly annoyed. And it really just brings every second of this movie down because it's just so much of it. Because I think last time I thought Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling's a little bit was more, and it's just not. They have like maybe 20, 30 minutes together in the movie, and it's just the best part. But the rest is just, it's just so bad. It just picks every option where it's like, how can you make me feel very uncomfortable and just not have a good time for the longest period possible? My next biggest point is that the dialogue in this movie is just very weird and uncomfortable and just kind of like, this is not how real people talk. And it's also just like awkward and uncomfortable, and I'm just like, why are you saying these things? And I just wish it would stop. But I think the one time it works is like with the like Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, whose names I'm character names I'm just simply forgetting. But it's because like, what is his name? What's his name? Oh, I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna remember his name. I promise. I have it in my notes. Jacob. That's his name. But it's like it works because it's awkward because like he's this big flashy guy who's just like is now had his walls broken down and is just like awkward about it all. And it's like, good, that makes sense. But then you give it to Robbie, and I'm just like, stop. You're saying things, and I just hate them a lot. And then you go to Jessica, who is also just a yikes. It's just a yikes. It's also illegal. So, there's that. Which is just doesn't help anything. And it's just like, why is this subplot in here? Like, I understand it's to build to the third act where it's like all these little small relationships build into each other and just like fall apart. But I'm just simply like, this is just not working for me. I just simply do not want this in my movie. It is just not an enjoyable experience. I'm just very uncomfortable. And I just don't like this movie. I think my rating last time was a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I dropped it a whole star because Robbie just ruined it that much. And I honestly might drop it another, or like just keep going down. Because there's just so much of this movie that I just simply don't like, and I just strongly don't like. And then we get to the soulmate bit. The soulmate bit is just, it's just a weird idea to get fixated on that is also just does not work across situations. And even because it's like, you can kind of justify it with like the divorce part because it's, like you try to make it work kind of thing, your soulmate. Like that I can buy to like an extent. It still is like maybe this relationship is not healthy and maybe your divorce was a thing that needed to happen, or just like there are other reasons that can make that soulmate bit more complicated, but like on the whole, it's a lot more like I can understand your justification here, even if it is very like abstract. But then it kind of works its way down people, and it's just like this simply does not work. Because Kel like uses that idea. It's like for Robbie and Jessica, he's like, "Oh, Robbie, it's your soulmate. You gotta fight for her." And like I've said like a million times already, probably that's not how that works. They are not already in a pre-established relationship. He is just a dumb middle schooler projecting his feelings on her and simply refuses to stop. Like, that's not a soulmate. That's just you being a weirdo and being a creep and being just gross. And I'm just like, why? Why is this movie so fixated on, like, soulmates? When the idea just simply does not work. Like, you just, like, why did you pick this thing that does not carry over situations? You cannot apply the same logic between a divorced couple and a middle schooler and his like immense just gross lust for his babysitter. And I just don't know why they made so many decisions in this movie, and I don't agree with like 99% of them because they just don't work. They're just weird and they are never really like punished or like told that they're wrong for doing that. Like the third act is like maybe the most like repercussions these people's like actions have. But then by the end, you've basically just erased half of those because it's like, well, we're gonna continue to let Robbie like feel like he can do these because you've enabled him to continue. Because I don't think her giving him the nude pictures is gonna change anything. I don't think that's going to be like, well, now you need to stop until it's less weird. I think he's just fully going to continue. I do not think he has the capacity to stop, and I think he needs help. But he's not going to get it because his dad isn't pushing his idea, and it keeps just perpetuating it, and I'm just simply like, stop. It's just bad. And I just don't think these are healthy things to be relaying to other people, because it's not a good message that you fight for your soulmates when your soulmate has never consented to that. Because Jessica's never like, yeah, this feeling is mutual. I also like you. Her discomfort is just like a joke half the time. Like at the big speech in the like gymnasium, the graduation, he's like, yeah, I still love you, and everyone's like laughing, and it's like, why are you laughing? Like, stop. Just stop. It's not okay. I just I just simply cannot with this. Like, I don't understand how I have such a visceral hatred, but I also fully know why I have a visceral hatred for this. I just don't know how deep it goes. Because right now it feels like, man, this thing is just. I do not like this movie. But the problem is that the, like, Hannah and Jacob and Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling stuff is, like, fun and good. Like, I like that bit a lot. Because I think the first bit where it's just, like, Jacob eating pizza with some, like, fancy music, I'm like, that's a funny scene. That works. And the whole bit where they, like, go back to his place and they're just, like, vibing and just being awkward and, like, feeling their way through it is, like, fun and good and, like, awkward in a good way. But it's just not in the movie enough. It's just, like, one scene. And I'm like, oh, this movie is not more of the person I'm coming for or the people I'm coming for. It is the stuff that I just have so many bad vibes about. Just so many bad vibes. And I'm just like, man, how did this get this far? Like, who at the point of this script was like, this is great to just like push this soulmate idea? Like, let's really play this joke for the whole movie. And I just don't know why you would let it go that far, why you would allow it to be that way, and just, I just simply cannot fathom the minds of the people that made this. But I guess it exists. It exists for a while, and I'm just like, okay. Because I've seen this movie twice now, which is, I definitely could have put this off later and like put this later in this whole filmography stuff. But I was like, I want to get this one out of the way. Because I was like, I was like 3 out of 5. I was like, it was bad, but I was like, it's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world. And we really just went from like easy A, which is like a good, I enjoyed that a lot, to just like the other side of that spectrum where I just simply do not like this at all. And unfortunately for the show, it's not Emma Stone's fault. It's basically just Robbie's and his dad's and every other character that does not exist in La La Land, as well as this movie. Because it's just like, wow, you really just kept going. You really just doubled down. And I cannot fathom why you would do that. But it happened. It sure happened. Before I rant too long, I want to make a little note. This is just a weird thing. It's the Doofenshmirtz. If I had a nickel for every movie with Emma Stone in it that mentions the Scarlet Letter, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. And they're both like fairly prominent plot points, which is just kind of funny, but also like just weird, just kind of strange. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a little weird that happened twice, but it's also from like entirely different perspectives. Because one is like pretty much understands it from what I understand. I haven't read the book because I have simply no desire to. But I don't think Robbie really got the same thing out of it. Like, I'm gonna say he kind of missed the point, at least a bit. He also just like publicly displays himself like that. Like, he really just has such a lack of shame that he's like, I'm going to go to Jessica's school, build a stage, paint a J on my chest, and just fully commit to the whole thing. And I simply don't think that is a humanly possible thing. But I guess I'm also using myself as an example where I would just simply not feel comfortable putting myself on display like that, especially as a middle schooler, when I'm just like, I care about what other people think so much, and Robbie simply does not. As long as he can be creepy and uncomfortable to his projected ideal girlfriend he wants to make out of Jessica, he just simply does not care about the world around him. And I mean, like, I guess that's kind of respectable that you're like a middle schooler who just doesn't care what other people think of him. But also, you maybe should care a little bit about what people think about you, because you're being very creepy and you simply need to stop. My other point is Cal is, I think, I don't remember. I'm just going to say Cal. I don't remember his actor's name. And I feel like I really should. But he does work as his character because I just simply do not find any aspect of him remotely appealing to someone. Like, I don't understand how he picked up women, but I also have never tried that myself, so I simply don't know how it works. But I'm like, man, you've got dad vibes, and I'm just like, okay, buddy, let's get you back to the retirement home. But it works, and I guess that's fine. But he also was like very. I just think all of the male relationships that aren't like Ryan Gosling's at the end are just kind of. They're just kind of weird when you think about them for like 2 seconds. Because like it looked like Cal came back to his old house and was like doing yard work on it in the middle of the night. He also comes back in the middle of night and like basically stalks his wife. Because I don't think they ever get divorced. It's just like what what's going on here? Like why are you doing that, sir? Stop going to your house to like do yard work when you're in the midst of like getting a divorce. Like I just don't. They're just having some copium and it's not working out for me. But it's a movie. This is a movie that happened that I watched. It's not very good. I think the general consensus seems to be it's like fine. I just think my visceral hatred for it is just justified. It's maybe a bit much, but I think it probably doesn't deserve the 2 stars I gave it. I think I'm at the hatred of like my hatred for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, where I just simply don't like 99% of this movie. I don't think it's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom though. It's like maybe like one step higher. Because I hate literally everything about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling are in this movie as a relationship, and that is enough to save it a little bit. So I guess that's really my only positive, is that Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling are in this together and have a really fun dynamic. And Ryan Gosling is just going so hard in the beginning and just the whole time, and I just love when he does that. But everything else about this movie, it's just so bad. It's just simply so bad. I feel like I've just said the same thing for like half an hour. And I probably have, but I just cannot get over Robbie's existence. And I don't think I ever will. And I feel like the thought, like, oh, well, maybe you're just projecting from like your past experiences, but like I'm not, because I understood as a middle schooler that people have boundaries and you should try to not make people uncomfortable because that does not help your future or anything in life. So I guess my lesson for all of you at home is don't be a creep. Soulmates aren't real, especially not when you project them onto another person. And just simply be a good person who respects other people's boundaries. That's all I have to say about that. I hope you enjoyed my little rant. You can find me on Twitter, where I basically just post my Wordle scores at the Hagita. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch, and it's just Hagita, and man, maybe I'll just move on from this movie, but it's not happening anytime soon. So I'm gonna go stop before I just lose it.